Alright, guys, so it's February 22nd, and just here with Pika. Say, what's up, Pika? Can't say nothing. But yeah, Pika hanging out. She loves when I play a sound bath. But, I was just writing a little bit on reparenting, essentially, and kind of how, we're in these adult bodies, we're children in adult bodies, and I like to make videos that really go in depth. I'm starting to put some attention and focus on that, and in the future I want to just for my own sake as well, to see how I'm able to articulate it and see how well I understand it. So here in the near future, I'll be posting videos on how we're enslaved, how we're abused and traumatized from day one, how these systems are set up for destruction and to strip us of our humanity or birthright and to turn us into just another cog in the system, another mindless minion in the system, because it's very simple to understand when you understand the entirety of what it means to be abused. It's easy to understand when you realize what you really are, which we are way more than what we've been programmed to think we are. Because a lot of people, especially me, just found my life as meaningless, and it's all about pleasure seeking and just always chasing that feel good feeling and living life as a party, So when you understand who we are, you don't even need to understand exactly who we are, but once you understand the entirety of what it means of what abuse means, it's easy to see and how these constructs are laid, how they are structured in a way to strip us of our birthright, our humanity, and our authenticity, essentially our power. Just right there, and realizing that you've been living in abusive systems and in survival mode and under stress for at least 18 years of your life, every single day of your life, to the age you are now, or until you're awakening, and making changes. You can have an awakening, but if you haven't made any changes and you're still going about your life as you always have and still making the same choices and living habitually, then awakening did nothing for you, other than probably started creating cognitive dissonance with seeing that the choices you make are kind of self-destructive and health diminishing, but you still do them anyways. So yeah, when you can really understand what abuse means, and then you start to correlate abuse to your own experiences on your upbringing, that right there will just prove to you how powerful you are to just be able to survive in constant survival mode, and with all the poisons and toxins that surround us and that we have put in our minds and that we put in our bodies. I mean, just this encompassing of inhumanity, dysfunctionality, toxins, poisons, all that. And so that right there will just show you how powerful you are. So I just wrote a little bit of something. I'll divulge on it a little more. But I want to, like I said, I want to get to making videos where I really explain the basics, and these basics are like a perfect foundation um, to now direct your life in a way that you see is the most meaningful and beneficial to your existence. Because that's, when getting to this type of healing and detaching, when on this type of path that I'm on, it takes having it's totally destroying the whole old foundation, all your beliefs, all the constructs, all the programs and such, and it takes shattering all of that and totally recreating a completely new foundation. But this foundation is not going to be a house of cards. This foundation isn't going to be a shaky foundation. This foundation won't just take a blow of the wind and it'll all fall apart. This foundation is very solid, as it is in alignment with truth, fact, and reality. And it resonates exactly with what we are at our essence. So I'll start reading now. The reason why adults are nothing but children in adult bodies has to do with their upbringing. Due to the abuse and trauma from living in a non-conducive environment that is immature, inhumane, and dysfunctional, we are thrown into survival mode, therefore never actually developing and maturing, rather coping and surviving. So as adults who have never matured in the sense of their authenticity and their humanity, means they were never given a safe space to express openly and freely. As a child who lacks a safe space and basic parenting is now stuck in a perpetual state of survival. As a child who is seeking safety and comfort and attention, a child should not have to seek for these things, as it should be provided, can find the safety, comfort, and attention in the wrong ways. For a child to even be seeking these things means the child has already been taught that their authenticity is not appreciated and that they're not enough. At 18 years old, we're now a product of survival and coping. We've never actually matured. We've just learnt to survive as well as go along to get along, to not ruffle the feathers, to not stand your ground, speak the truth, face adversity without the fear of judgment and resentment, to prioritize your health and well-being. To have a lack of trust and confidence proves that we have only been learning to go along to get along, as those things should just be the foundation in human life. Truth, fact, and reality, living authentically, living humanely, living in accordance with nature, living, So instead of developing our essence, we've been fighting to keep afloat by seeking sanity and surviving to get through the day. That is not developing. That is not evolving. That constant survival is deadening. It's devolving. So being adults who are survivors are not actually mature and pure adults, as we are still stuck in our survival mode. We're mentally and emotionally stuck. Therefore, we're still in need of basic parenting which would have never put us in this situation, as our parents would have known better. Being adults now, no one is going to come and save us. So now it is up to us to get our own inner adult online engaged, and awakened so that we can begin to reparent ourselves. Seriously, like that's that's what's got that's what's got to happen. We need to be reparented, and we got to take the initiative to do that. Um, by doing this, we are preventing by us taking the personal responsibility to to get online, right? To wake up, to engage and be awakened, um, so that we can begin to reparent ourselves. By doing this, we are preventing the abused and confused inner child from running our lives. This is an act of love we've never received. This is what we need. A proper caretaker who comprehends, respects, cares, and helps a child to understand what is best for them through the alignment of thoughts, words, and actions. Building a relationship of trust and honesty by having thoughts, words, and actions in alignment. Zero hypocrisy, zero lies, and zero curveballs. The inner child who runs our lives is still operating on old survival instincts and dysfunctional tools that we picked up in childhood via survival. We know this child better than anyone else does. We know what's going on with them, and we know where they're coming from. As the new parent in their life, we must prove we are safe, caring, honest, and of the best intentions, as this child is timid and on edge. So it's not to be forced. When I say prove, it doesn't mean prove yourself by forcing the kid to see it, forcing your inner child to see it, forcing yourself to believe it. It takes that alignment of thoughts, words, and actions. It takes that, this healing cannot be done abusively. You can't force yourself to go and work out. You can't force yourself to face shit. Like, you have to be easy on yourself. You've had that authority type, because see, you're being authoritative. You're being pushy. You're pushing your ideas and your curriculum onto a hurt inner child. That's not how you show someone, like this inner child needs to be sat with and listened to. It doesn't need to be told what to do, and it needs to speak. It needs a safe space to speak and express itself fully. And you, in the beginning of this, you were just listening, you were just observing, and then eventually you'll start, reasoning with the child, not necessarily reasoning with them to come to an agreement, but showing that you understand, and but helping the child see deeper, because the child is in survival. So it's gonna come up with all these excuses why it wants to run towards this or that, and you just listen to them, and you see where your inner child is coming from, where his thought processes are coming from, where his decision making is coming from, and then you go from there. Our love for this child cannot be forced. So remember, this child is timid and on edge. So our love for this child cannot be forced. You cannot be overly assertive. You cannot be authoritative. The child is slow to warm up as it watches for who is safe and who is not. We are reinventing a connection with ourselves. And we actually do this by separating from our inner child's worldview to become aware of how our inner child runs our lives. By separating from identifying by our survival characters, our ego, and our past, we're now able to become aware and observe what's actually at play. We observe our beliefs, We observe our reactions and instincts, our automatic choices, and the predictable stuck behavior, as well as thoughts, emotions, urges, and triggers. So, um, so when I say we actually do this by separating from our inner child, um, that may sound contradicting as we're trying to build a relationship with our child. But see, right now, um, if you've done zero for your healing, if you've done the very minuscule for your healing, but you're still living habitually and such, even if you had your awakening, right? Um, you and your inner child are of the same person. You are at this moment. You identify with your past. You identify with your copes. You identify with the coping mechanisms in which you've picked up. You identify with the characters that have been created in order for you to feel safe in this world. And so, see, you got to break away from all that. You got to realize, once you realize that you've undergone the survival mechanism since day one of being born. Um, because that's the thing right now. We're like, oh, this is me. This is who I am. I just love chocolate, and I love going to the roller rink every weekend, and I love my mom abused me my whole life, but we just stick it through. We make the best of it right now. So I'm just a forgiving person, and I just love to keep my mind on the positives of life and all this. You got to realize that came from being in survival. That came from going along to get along. And so what are you doing there? You're not speaking truth. You're not expressing yourself fully. You are still. So we have to no longer identify with who we've been our entire lives. We have to realize that who we've been our entire lives came from survival, came from we picked up behaviors and desires and personality traits that helped us cope and to go along to get along in these toxic environments. So, um, we, becoming aware of that, now we need to step back. We need to see, well, man, yeah, I have been in survival my entire life. If I've been in survival my entire life, that means I've been doing whatever I can to cope and to go along to get along, which therefore that means I wasn't living out of my authenticity, because obviously if you're authentic, you're not just following trends, you're not just hopping from group to group to group, you're not just slapping a smile on your face, you're not just ignoring the facts and ignoring the obvious hypocrisy and obvious lies your family plays on you. So so it's like, so I must have disassociated from my authenticity, from my essence at a very young age. And if I did that for day after day, moment after moment, for decades, that probably means I've disassociated so greatly that I've diminished and suppressed, and that part of me, the part of me which is real, the me who is me. And really, I have no clue who me really is, because I've been just surviving. I've been just coping. I've been doing whatever I can to fit in, to receive attention and affection, to receive to be heard, to be seen, to be valued, to be loved, to be respected. Because, yeah, and I'm always chasing validation. I'm always chasing things that make me feel complete and whole. But just knowing that my essence, my authenticity, if I was living out of that, I would already feel whole. I would already feel complete. I would already feel fulfilled in my life. And um, so yeah, it's you really you have to accept the fact that you've been stripped of your humanity and your authenticity, and you've been forced to fit into these toxic um, and abusive social structures, and you've literally been imbued and programmed and indoctrinated with propaganda and false knowledge. Propaganda and false knowledge, um, and you were under that programming and indoctrination for 18 years at least. And so, and the only way, because if you didn't comply to that, right now you would be a mental patient. You would either be in the psych ward, or you would be on a shit ton of pills that calm your ass down and get you in alignment, that numb you and and settle your ass down in order to function in society. Um, you're listed with mental disorders, as you're not able to act orderly, follow the orders of society, follow the orders which are set on how to behave and get along here. So those types of people who couldn't give up their authenticity, who couldn't give up um, what it meant to be human, um, they they get thrown in psych wards. They get called crazy. They get labeled with mental disorders. They're thrown. They're thrown on all kinds of pills that numb them and keep them in line. So, I see it as people like me who have never been on pills and who have never been, who get along in society just fine, is able to fit into society just well and operate just fine. That's how I used to be. Um, I used to be able to go along and get along. Um, I see that as a huge disorder in our natural functioning. I see that as a huge malfunction. Like, people who are supposedly orderly in the system are the most traumatized, are the most actually disorderly when it comes to humanity and authenticity, when it comes to truth, fact, and reality, because we're able to disregard truth, fact, and reality and just do what we got to do and play the game. Um, but people in the psych ward, people with mental disorders, people who can just not function in the system without being drugged up and doped up, um, they are, they, yeah, I don't know, kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, just trying to get it through, man. Like, we have to realize that we have been abused. We have to realize that we are addicted and attached to this place out of trauma bonding, out of being abused. And because people are like, well, yeah, it is what it is, but I just can't imagine giving up my TV. I can't imagine not going to the ball game every weekend. I can't imagine not following my favorite sports teams and following my favorite celebrities. And I can't imagine not never eating these cooked foods again. I can never imagine um, um, climbing the ladder in my career, and all these superficial things. Um, and it's like, you got to realize that the only reason why you're addicted to those things is um, and have limited your potential and your capabilities to those things is through abuse, is through trauma, is through programming, is through propaganda. Um, and the reason why it's hard to let go is because it's familiar. It's familiar, which whatever is familiar is effortless, it's comfortable, it's effortless, it's comfortable, and it's familiar, so like, so we're so used to abusive love. We're so used to fake and toxic love, which isn't even love. I just gotta call it that because that's what we view it. But that's what it is. It's not actually love. It's an illusion of love. It's a it's a tampering of what it means to actually love. Um, and you see it with kids who can't leave their abusive parents, um, that dedicate their whole lives to pleasing their abusive parents, and doing everything they can to prove to their parents that they're worthy, this or that. So that's, even though they may have moved away and talk about, yeah, my parents are abusive, this or that, but still fighting to prove themselves to them, always only feeling their worth is validated through their parents' response to what they're doing with their life now. Um, you know, um, Women especially who just cannot get out of toxic relationships, whether it's verbally abusive or physically abusive, but constantly going from one guy to the next, or staying with the one guy for however long, and just will not get themselves out of that abusive relationship. But um, but it keeps them sane, like, because they've that's familiar to them. Chaos, drama, um, curveballs. Um, it's familiar to them. So, and like I said, whatever is familiar, it's known. What's familiar is known. It's effortless and it's comfortable. Um, and yeah, when you open up any new option for them, um, it puts them in the unknown, which the unknown is unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable, and it takes work. It's not effortless. It takes effort, you know, and 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 we've been so highly abused and traumatized and mistreated and in survival and just worn out mentally and emotionally and physically, that we just do not want to feel uncomfortable. We the pleasures, the stimulations which give us comfort, the illusion of comfort and safety and ease and sanity, um, those things have, because those were coping mechanisms that help numb the pain of the cognitive dissonance and of the inhumane um, behaviors and activities. um, we yeah shit but yeah, we've numbed ourselves, and so we got to see, fuck, I know I was just on something and I just left, I just um, lost it. But I'm just trying to say, man, like, we have to realize that whatever is familiar to us right now, if we have not acknowledged this stuff at all, even if we have, but we kind of just disregard it and just see it as, well, that was just life, I'm just making the best of it. Oh, and because we just hate being uncomfortable, because we've been uncomfortable our whole lives, we had to learn how to cope with it, because we first started becoming uncomfortable when we realized our authenticity wasn't appreciated. So, and which was very uncomfortable, which was very um, soul striking. And so we, um, from then on, we did whatever we had to do to become comfortable, to become safe, even if it, which is the, which that comfort and safety we had to create for ourselves by playing the game is actually an illusion of comfort and safety. It's comfort, the comfort and safety that you can get in this toxic society, so that you're not being bashed and scorned and ridiculed and beaten and all those things. You're getting that that slight bit of comfort and safety that you can in the system. But if you were actually born in a safe space, those two comforts are contradicting. Those two comforts are completely different. Um, the comfort coming from this toxic society is like this, and the comfort coming from truth, fact, and reality, and what it actually means to be human and be authentic is like this much. Big difference, big difference. So the comfort and safety we seek for, the pleasure we seek for, the that bit of ease and sanity we seek for in dopamine hits and things outside of us, and in relationships, toxic relationships, trauma bonded relationships, and all that. um, it is just the illusion of comfort, safety, ease, and sanity. It's the illusion of that, and we have to realize that, and we have to realize, it's gonna get uncomfortable, um, taking this path of reparenting myself, but just know that what's going to come from that, the rewards that you'll reap from that, from reparenting yourself, from healing and detaching, from no longer acting out of your habits, which have your habits were created from the propaganda and the programs which were indoctrinated into you by a sick and toxic society. um, Once you realize that the highest act of love, the highest act of respect, is doing this healing, is doing this reparenting, is by detaching from this 3D illusion. Um, yeah, there was something else I just wanted to say, but it left my mind. Um, so, oh yeah, and that's the thing. And that's also another thing you'll realize is, wow, I actually don't know what love is. I've The only love I've ever received was fake, was abusive, was was fake, abusive, and full of lies and manipulation. That's the love. It was narcissistic love. It was authorities virtue signaling to me how good they are, but really they just wanted me to fall in line and to go along to get along, and not question the structures that are set here, and not act out of line. So the love we the way we view love, if we're coming from our slave box, or mind slave box, from our limited mindset, from our diminished mindset, the love, what we call love, is far, 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 far from true love. Way far from true love. Because, yeah, it's an illusion of love. And so, and that's where we get real with ourselves, and we're like, man, that wasn't actually love, that was abuse. And right when you can, and then even acknowledging that the love that was taught to you and the love that you've been given out has actually been abuse, has actually been a falsity of what it means to love. And so, yeah, man, this reparenting, this healing and detaching is the highest act of love, highest act of servitude, highest act of respect. It is the highest act of humanity that you could ever do. Um, this is truly the hero's journey as we are aligning ourselves back with true fact and reality so that we can be um, so that we can be living in love, so that we can. And but love, you first need truth. You first before you can even love, you have to prove that you love and respect yourself through taking the steps necessary, which aligns you back with your humanity, which aligns you back with your authenticity, which aligns you back to your essence, you know. And then from there, um, because those are required in order to love, in order to have love, in order to have love, there has to be honesty, there has to be truth, there has to be a safe space, there has to be comfort, ease, and sanity, respect and liberty and veracity. There has to be those things because those things are the foundational structures to love, you know, and love comes from that, you know, love, because when you're able to live authentically and real and honest and no facade and no playing one another and no deception and none of this, when everybody's living in alignment with that, there's such a deep trust and knowing with one another. And that just, I mean, and that'll just explode when, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I just wanted to get this across. But like I said, here in the near future, I will be making videos on the foundationals of this, you know, to really understand why this is so important. But look, don't just wait for me to, because see, I say that and people go, oh, well, I guess I just need to learn those things first before I can really take these steps. And it's like, no, did you not just hear everything I just said and read these past 30 some minutes now? Like, think about that. Start detaching from who you think you are. Stop living, stop mindlessly and habitually living in your normal manner and actually take a step back and observe yourself from a third person's perspective, you know. Take a step back and observe, take a step back and question, take a step back and challenge your habits, you know, by not acting habitually, by choosing differently, by making new decisions, by, yeah, you know, by abstaining from certain things um, that you know that you don't actually need, but you chase for the illusion of comfort and safety and ease and sanity, you know, and the illusion of feeling fulfilled and complete, you know, because you're using things externally from you to make you feel full and complete and whole, you know, but it's fleeting. It's just a temporary satisfaction, and then it's fleeting. See, this healing, this reparenting, this healing, this detaching, this personal responsibility you take, this is sustaining, because now you're actually building on to your state of being. You're repairing yourself, and therefore you will. That's why the mental and emotional aspects of this is critical. You should not worry about your physical at all. You should not be focused on the physical at all, because the physical healing will be a byproduct of putting your emotional and mental healing first. That has to happen, because you will never fix yourself physically as you are emotionally and mentally attached to the things which are killing you physically. Um, which that mental and emotional baggage is actually killing you within, because it is a stressor that, um, because it goes against the biological functioning, it goes against our beliefs, our programming, the false knowledge that's in here. Because having false knowledge, having these programs and beliefs, is what makes us make bad decisions, is what makes us choose the wrong thing, because we have the wrong knowledge in here. And if you have the wrong knowledge in here, that means there's a bunch of dissonance in here, because see, we innately know how to act, we innately know how to behave. um, it may not seem that way, because like I said, we got stripped away from that when we were an infant, and we've been getting on the program since then for 18 plus years. So it may seem like we don't know, but you do know. You just need to step back, and you need to start observing, and you need to start challenging your current self. You need to start abstaining from things. You need to start facing your psyche, facing your shadow, facing your personal reality exactly for what it is, facing it with open mind, with open eyes, willing to accept anything, even if it crushes your most desired belief. You have to be willing to let go. Um, and that all comes with knowing I've been born and raised in abusive, toxic, inhumane, immature, dysfunctional slavery systems of abuse and just trauma, drenched in abuse and trauma. So I have to be willing to let go of everything I know in order to get in alignment with truth, fact, and reality. Because, yeah, yeah, and so I'm just saying, don't wait for my future videos. Sit with what I just fucking said and run it through the faculties of your mind. Question things. You're seeing immediately when you start doing that, you're immediately gonna want to go and start coping. You're immediately gonna justify. You're immediately going to justify and say, that may be true, but this is just, and just justify real quick. You got to be aware of that. Well, why am I justifying? Why immediately when I started sitting with this, I started feeling anxiety, and I had to get up, and I just had to go and do something. If you can't sit with yourself for 5 minutes in stillness without any music, even music like this that I have playing right now, where it's just singing bowls and frequencies, none of it. Sit in the quiet, sit in your room, and with your eyes closed, and just lay there. Don't fall asleep, but observe. Um, and yeah, ask yourself, well, why do I feel like I need to get up and go? Why am I telling myself that there's better things I could be doing with my time? Why, when it's just 5 minutes of my day to try and sit in this one exact spot, you know, like what's 5 minutes gonna hurt, right? And so, and yeah, why am I justifying the abuse? Why am I justifying how my parents raised me? Why am I justifying the ways of this system? Yeah, so many things, but yeah, I hope y'all got something from this. These videos are just helping me greatly on articulating myself and putting my thoughts into words and seeing how well I understand it. Like my dad says, I understand it on a level that is just innate. I understand it on a level where I could speak it better in a telepathic communication rather than in words, rather than constructing it in words. Because I already know. I already know how abusive this place is. I don't need to research any more into it. I don't need to. I'm so deep in my knowing that there is no but what if. There's no what ifs with me. There is no but maybes. No, there's none of that. I know what the fuck's happening. I know what's going on. I just lack the vocabulary um, to speak it out precisely in a way where um, it could be comprehended by the majority, you know. Um, so yeah, yeah, and so that's the thing. Like doing these videos is just helping me rewire my brain. It's helping me deconstruct all these constructs and programming and false knowledge and false beliefs. It's helping me, you know, it's just another tool, another tactic to um, solidify um, solidify what I know and practice, you know, practice actually speaking out loud and aligning my thoughts, words, and actions, all those things. So, um, but yeah, yeah, that's that. All right. Enjoy y'all's night, and till next time.